way to the stage is Connor.
Hello. So one evening, about 2 years ago, I was walking home from work. I didn't really have anything to do that evening, so I was browsing on one of the apps where men meet other men, and I got a message from this profile that didn't have any photo on it, didn't have any information on it, just a blank profile. And the message said, "Do you want a video chat?" And I said, "I'm walking through Kennington. Now isn't the time for naked video chatting." And he answered, no, I just want to check if you're for real. And as I say, I didn't have anything else to do, so when the video call came, I answered. And I said hello to what looked like a blank wall. And I was about to hang up when a face appeared at the bottom of the screen. And a smiley man winked and waved and immediately hung up. He sent me a message to say that I was handsome, which I am, and to ask me if I wanted to meet for coffee. Now, as I say, I didn't have anything to do, so I said, "Sure, where would you like to go?" And he said, "Oh, I'm new in London. I don't know where to go. Where would you suggest?" And I said, "Oh, if you're new, you've got to get to know Soho. Would you like to go to a gay bar?" And he said, "I've never been to a gay bar before. Can we do stuff there?" I responded, "Well, we can kiss and cuddle." And he answered with a two-word question, "No penetration?" I agreed, no penetration. This was a very standard Soho gay bar, not the kind of place you get penetrated on a Wednesday afternoon. He then asked me if he could get a non-alcoholic drink there because he was an Egyptian Muslim, and I realized that not only had he never been in a gay bar, he'd never been in a bar full stop. He was scared to meet at the pub, so we met in Oxford Street, we shook hands, and we walked to the pub. He told me his name, Ali, he was 29 years old. And we began to chat and get to know each other. We sat down in the pub, and he looked around and he asked me, "Are you sure this is a gay bar?" You guys, it couldn't have looked more gay. There were rainbow flags everywhere, there were disco balls hanging from the ceiling. The man at the table next to ours was wearing leather shorts. So I reassured him that yes, it was definitely a gay bar. And he launched himself at my face. Oh my God, you guys, the kissing. Most uncomfortable kissing I've ever experienced. So many teeth, so much tongue. There were times when his tongue wasn't in my mouth and it wasn't in his, and I'm not sure exactly where it was. But it was delightfully enthusiastic. Every so often he'd stop and he'd say, "Are you sure this is okay here?" And I'd be like, yes, it's definitely a gay bar, it's fine, get back on my face. And then, after another while, he stopped and he said, "Connor, I love you." Now, obviously, my rational adult brain knew that he didn't love me, but my rational adult brain wasn't exactly in charge, so I just said, "Oh." After we'd finished our drinks, he looked around and he saw the entrance to the toilets and he said, "Maybe we could go there and carry things further." Now, I should explain that this was a relatively elderly crowd in the bar. There were 6 older men drinking pints, all looking at us, all listening to every single word we said. So I said, "No, let's not go to the toilets. Let's just go for a nice walk around Soho." So we walked around, hand in hand, stopping for uncomfortable kisses every so often. He kept saying, "Oh, you could never do this in Egypt." It was really thrilling. And then we did eventually say goodbye to each other at Leicester Square tube station. As we passed the toilets on the way into the tube station, he said, "Oh, maybe we could go there." And I said, "No. Whatever about having a quickie in a toilets in a gay bar, I'm definitely never going to do it in a tube station toilet." But when I went home that night, I was thinking about how a lovely young man had told me that he loved me. And for the next 24 hours, I was playing Boyzone's "I Love the Way You Love Me" on repeat on Spotify, because I am that much of a sap. A few days later, we met again. There was more uncomfortable kissing, but this time he was a lot more secretive. He obviously didn't want to get discovered. He was a bit more nervous. He said we needed to meet somewhere private where we could do more stuff. He asked if we could go back to my flat. I made up a flatmate and said we couldn't, mainly because I just couldn't imagine him in my house. If he didn't understand a rainbow flag in a gay bar in Soho, what would he make of the giant One Direction painting hanging over my bed? So I said I had a flatmate and we couldn't go back to mine. Then he asked if maybe we could go and have some sex in Hyde Park among the trees. He said he'd bring a sleeping bag. I said, no, let's not do that. Finally, he said, maybe we could go to a gay sauna. And I was like, yes, absolutely, that's what they're for. So we got a bus to Waterloo Station. He was shaking on the bus beside me. He asked me if there'd be CCTV there. He was really nervous about the idea of video evidence of him being gay making it back to Egypt. I reassured him that it'd be perfectly fine, even though I actually wasn't sure whether they had CCTV or not. We got to the sauna, and it's a nice sauna. You know, there's a bar, there are places to hang out, there's a pool, there's steam rooms, saunas, a pornographic cinema, all kinds of things you can do. But he just wanted a private room. So we went straight to a private room. He checked the lock about 12 times before he finally took his towel off and lay on top of me and gnawed at my face for a while again. He told me he loved me again. And then he got a far-off, distant look in his eyes. And he said, Connor, I love you. Will you marry me? Will you be my husband? I didn't even know his surname. But obviously I was delighted to be proposed to, so I said yes. He was touching himself, and quite suddenly, he came all over my belly. He grabbed my towel and wiped himself off with it. And we made our way to the showers. When we were in the showers, I looked over at my fiancé, but he couldn't make eye contact with me anymore. We got dressed, we went outside, we shook hands goodbye, and that's the last time I ever saw him. Love hurts, you guys. Thanks.
Connor, everyone! Yes, what a start!